In 1604, Galileo Galilei was at the height of his intellectual brilliance. He was teaching mathematics at the University of Padua, one of the most prestigious in Europe, and enjoyed the respect of students, colleagues, and even the rulers of the Republic of Venice. During that time, he was already building his reputation as a revolutionary scientist. He was scrutinizing the skies, conducting experiments, and questioning old ideas with tireless curiosity. But even the brightest minds are not immune to small scandals and malicious rumors. It all began with a rather embarrassing denunciation, presented to the Padua inquisitors by a certain Silvestro Pagnoni, a scribe. A man who, for a full 18 months, had lived under the same roof as Galileo, probably as a guest or collaborator. Pagnoni, however, turned out to be more than just a housemate. He was a true spy. His testimony, in fact, seemed to come straight out of a tavern gossip. I have never seen him go to Mass, except for one time, and instead of attending religious services, he preferred to visit his Venetian woman, Marina. Heavy words, spoken with disdain. Marina Gamba was indeed Galileo's partner, with whom he would also have children. But at that time, living with a woman outside of marriage was seen as a sign of a disordered life, if not downright sinful. And it doesn't end there. According to Pagnoni, Galileo never confessed, nor did he receive communion. In other words, he behaved, according to the scribe, like a lukewarm Christian, if not outright like a non-believer. But the most serious accusation was another. Galileo was said to have drafted horoscopes for payment, reading the future of men through the motion of the stars. Now, it must be clarified. At the time, astrology was still very widespread and even respected in certain circles. But the church was beginning to view it with increasing suspicion, especially when it mixed with the idea of predicting fate, something reserved for God. For a university professor, charging for horoscopes could be very dangerous. Yet, despite the seriousness of the accusations, the matter quickly deflated. The University of Padua and the Venetian government unhesitatingly sided with Galileo. The denunciation was deemed unfounded, driven by ill-affected spirits, as the authorities officially wrote. Essentially, jealousy, personal grudges, perhaps even a touch of envy towards a man who had become famous and well paid, while others, like Pagnoni himself, remained in the shadows. The support of the Serenissima was decisive. Venice was indeed very protective of its autonomy, even in religious matters, and did not tolerate interference from Rome. The Inquisition was present in Padua, but it operated with kid gloves. As long as Galileo remained under the protection of the Republic, he could work in relative freedom, away from the stern eyes of the Roman Holy Office. We do not know if Pagnoni's words had a grain of truth. It is possible that Galileo was not particularly devout, or that he saw religion as a realm distinct from that of knowledge. Certainly he was not a rebel. He was simply a free spirit, passionate about knowledge, and not inclined to conventions. Even the horoscopes, if he indeed drafted them, were part of the culture of the time, more than a sign of heresy. But this episode, relatively minor, was a first taste of what awaited him in the future. When, now elderly, he would truly clash with the power of the Roman Inquisition for having supported Copernican theories, there would no longer be the protection of Venice to save him. In 1604, however, Galileo was still a free man. And thanks to that climate of openness and protection, it was during those years that he was able to make some of his most extraordinary astronomical observations. He had already begun to point the telescope towards the sky, and soon he would forever change the way man looks at the universe.